Welcome to A to Z Jobs, the podcast where real people share unfiltered stories about their careers, from the triumphs to the "what was I thinking?" moments. Today's guest is Leanne, who went from managing ad campaigns and designing interiors to fighting fires at 30,000 feet as a flight attendant. We're diving deep into how his why not attitude landed him in the airline industry, the insane training it takes to become a flight attendant, and why he still does a job that nothing goes as planned. No fluff, no script, just the real talk about the messy, rewarding paths careers take. Leanne, thank you for joining us on the A to Z Jobs podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm kind of excited to be doing this.
Awesome. So let's kick it off. So tell me about yourself. What is your career and what inspired you to pursue it?
So, I've had multiple careers, so we'll start from the very beginning. I started off as a project manager for an advertising agency back in the Philippines. So that's technically where I started. But before that, when I was in the universities, I was like doing small jobs here and there and helping out in like film production and all that. So that's where I started off. Later down the line, I joined what do you call this? Like a interior design company, and I was a project manager there. Then later down the line, I was just like, oh, why not try something else? And then I applied for this airline as a cabin crew. So a few years later, here we are now.
So tell me about that then. So what was the decision process? So you've done a few different jobs. Were you just restless and you needed a new challenge, or what was the decision process to join an airline?
Yeah. So for me, I guess I'm the type of person who wants to try new things and wants to try different things. And, I, I would say I'm the type of person who has aspirations to try for something bigger and much more. So that is why I wanted to try these things because they're different. In retrospect of things, it's like the first two jobs are almost the same, but then jumping into the airline industry was a whole big thing. But I was just like, oh, this is fun. This is challenging. This is a new challenge. This is out of my scope, but it's still fun. Because who wouldn't want to wake up in a different city almost every day and try out different things every day? So that's why I was just like, "Ooh, let's try this."
Right. So it's quite different. Like that's a distinct change, right? So
Mm.
what was the process then in terms of so you could become a flight attendant um, without having any sort of particular training or background? They were open to basically any sort of skill set. Was there any? I suppose what I'm getting at is the transferable skills. Was there something that you needed to have done to get this job, or it's all provided through the recruitment process?
So if anybody wants to jump to being a flight attendant or a cabin crew, I guess it's more about your personality rather than your skill set. Of course. It helps if you've got the whole first aid training and firefighting and if you have background in the airline industry, of course it will help to get the job because there are correlations to it, I would say. If you're a flight attendant, you need to learn how to do first aid, firefighting, swimming, all that stuff. But for me, I didn't have any of that. I I was just there and I went there with a smile and a dream and hope that I will get this job. And then I got it.
And what about is there a language component?
Yeah, yes. So for a language component, since I work for an Asian um, airline, there is a requirement for you to speak English for sure. And then another one is another Asian language. which for me is Tagalog or Filipino.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that was just like tick on the box for me.
Yeah. So the only real requirement then, so Asian airline, the only real prerequisite, prerequisite? That's not a word.
Prerequisite.
The only thing you need was the language. Other than that, you can come in. I'm just passionate.
Mm,
I want to travel. I want to see the world.
mm,
Okay.
Because truth be told, I think recruiters or would see that they're like, oh, this guy doesn't have a background for it, but he has passion and he wants to do this job. So let's give him a shot. Let's give him or her a shot.
And what about the inspiration? And so why, like out of the blue, you're like, I've been doing this career, but then why? Like, what
Mm.
did you see an advert, or did you just go? Actually, I just
Oh,
what happened?
so funny story. So as a, I grew up in Hong Kong. So my world was like my world and my friends were all from like a lot of them were from the airline industry, their parents. So one day, one of my friends' mom went up to me and was just like, "Hey, what are you doing now? Um, this airline is hiring. Why don't you come and apply?" So I looked into it and I was just like, "Hey, I can do these things. Why not? You know." So I applied. So that was like technically almost the beginning of the whole thing as well. My friend's mom was just like, "Why don't you try and apply? You have nothing to lose."
It's always interested me, like about the training process. I've actually a couple of my clients. I've helped them. I've coached them on the interview process for the airline industry, particularly for flight
Mm,
attendant roles. And one of them, obviously I won't say names, but she failed the training. She couldn't. Her English wasn't good enough, and she didn't know how to put out a fire in the test. So there was a lot of things that so she failed, and but she like
mm,
it's a very reasonable process because if your English isn't quite good enough or you don't quite get a process right, they don't just it's not a scrap heap. They don't push you away. They just
mm.
they invite you to come back in 3 months' time. So they give you more time to study, more time to train. Um, what was the training process like? What was the hardest part?
So sorry to
Hmm.
jump onto that story of yours.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't get in the first time that I applied.
Oh, okay. Well,
I didn't get in the first time I applied either. So it was I if I remember correctly, it was I did the group interview and then I passed that one and then it was a scenario based interview and then that was it. I they I wasn't asked to come back. Mm, I didn't get it. But a few months later, I don't specifically remember if it was 3 or 6, but it was, some time has passed. And then I was just like, all right, let's try again. Again, nothing to lose. I was just there. So I did. And then lo and behold, I got it. But yeah, sorry. So what was your question again? Sorry.
yeah, no, that's good. No, that's great. That's great. So basically, the training. I know from what I hear, the training is quite intensive. Like they put you into a simulator. There's smoke. There's flashing lights. You got to evacuate. You got to go down the slides. You go swimming. Like there's a lot of intensive training. For you, what was like the hardest part of training to be a flight attendant?
Okay. So for me, I don't. This is from my experience. I don't know what other people experience, but for me, the most intense thing was the safety training because that was just them drilling you point A, point B, point C, point D, blah blah blah. What happens if this doesn't work? What do you do? What do you pull to open the door? what do you need to press when there's a fire, where do you go to get the fire extinguisher, and you know there are multiple aircrafts. Multiple aircrafts meaning some of them have different configurations, different type of doors and all that. So that was like something that was drilled in us. And then what if somebody is choking? What if somebody is having a heart attack? Where do you get the this and that? Where is the, you know? So that part was the intense bit because that was just the book was like this thick, and it was something we had to carry on a day-to-day basis, and they were like, read it from start to finish because that is what's going to save your life.
Mm. Yeah,
So that was the intense bit. That was the intense bit.
yeah. As a passenger, you don't really see it, do you? Like as a passenger, you're like, oh, they just bring me my drinks or they bring me my
Oh,
food. You don't really think
yeah, yeah.
the component behind it all. But obviously, that's the part where they're really drilling the safety in.
Yes, yes. Because like I said, I'm not sure about other airlines, but for us, what was ingrained in us is safety comes first. So it was always just like, okay, what if this and this and this is happening? What do you do? So there is literally black and white. There's no gray area for us when it comes to things like that. So they were just like, remember this point by point.
Yeah,
That's it.
always
Yeah. So
safety.
that was intense bit. That was intense because that was like, I think that was almost like, I would say 7 weeks. No, sorry, maybe six. I cannot really remember anymore. But that was a long time.
That's interesting. So in terms of from being accepted into being a flight attendant to being on a plane and doing the work, how long is that process?
Oh, so if I remember correctly, the whole process, the whole training for safety and service. Hopefully I am not getting this wrong because this was
Just an
like
estimate.
almost like,
It's fine.
yeah. Oh, good lord, this was about at during my time. It was about 8 weeks, if I remember correctly, maybe even seven. Again, I cannot remember, but a bigger chunk of that was the safety.
Was safety, and then a little bit on
Yeah,
service. It's mostly
and then we jump onto service. So yeah, it was like 6 weeks of safety and then 2 weeks of service. I might be wrong.
yeah, that's all right. So all right. So
Please don't cancel me.
what's the best thing about the job? Obviously,
Oh,
traveling,
good
you
lord.
get to see the world, but what to you? What gives you the passion? What makes you want to be on the plane? What makes you want to do this job?
What makes me want to do this job? Truthfully, the first bit, because who wouldn't want to wake up in a different city? Who wouldn't want to wake up and like, oh, I'm in New York today. Oh, I'm in LA next week, so on and so forth. But honestly, there's another part of me where I get satisfaction when I see the passengers who's just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Oh, great, really? Oh, it's my first time flying, and I don't know how much I can do, but then the fact that I'm just talking to them and I see their face, just they calm down, they start smiling. I'm like, okay, I know I've done my job. They're sitting down and they're more calm and they're like, oh, thank you so much, you did so great. There's a gratification in that. Is that a right word? Gratification? Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
There, there's gratification when I see them. Like it's plain. It's very for me. It's very the small things where they're like, oh, I see them and then they're like not really okay, and I bring them a glass of water. I'm like, "Oh, madam, are you okay? Do you want some water?" And they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And they're they start to have light in their eyes. They're like, "Oh, okay, somebody's actually taking care of us and all that." So yeah, two parts to that answer.
Yeah, it's a small.
Sorry, two parts to that question.
Yeah. All right. So what's the worst? What do you hate? What do you go? Oh my god,
Ooh,
I can't believe this is happening again, or
ooh.
I'm not sure I can cope with this. Is there anything that you hate about the job?
For sure, and I think anybody who is in the industry will understand this. I think anybody who is a working human being will understand this. There is no what's the right word? Nothing is set in stone. Like anything can happen. But then the thing is, it's nobody's fault, really. I would say. For example, what if the aircraft breaks down? That's nobody's fault. What if there is bad weather, snowstorm, thunderstorm, volcano eruption, blah blah blah? That's nobody's fault. But that means you're stuck there for one more day, or you have to divert somewhere else, or oh, now you're on standby. You you just don't know. And then, you know, this is personally my thing. Like the long holidays, the Christmas, you don't know whether you're working or not. Like, oh, and I love spending time with my family because we're such a small family, so it's just my mom and my sister. So I love it when I'm with them, and so you don't know when you're gonna be there because, like I said, nothing is set in stone.
Mm. So it's the I suppose so the predictability of the industry, the
Yeah,
predictability of the job. So
yeah,
if you're a person that likes structure and process and knowing what's coming tomorrow, it's probably not
mm,
the right career. You need to be someone who's adaptable, fast on their feet, and enjoy the
yeah,
challenge of
yep,
having
yep,
things thrown at you. Yeah.
yeah. But if this is something that you love to do and you have been inspiring to have this job, then power to you. But this comes with a job, and I had to learn to adapt to it. So I make time for my family and friends afterwards. If I don't see them during a special day or special week, I'm like, what about next week? I'll make time for you. So, you know, you get you have to make do.
Yeah. It's shift work. Like so many careers and so many jobs have that challenge of shift work. Like my
Right.
sister, she does aged care, and like she works Christmas because she's in Australia, so there's penalty rates to work Christmas. So
Mm-mm.
you earn more working the public holidays, and then she'll celebrate with us afterwards, or it's
Right, right,
you
right,
find that balance. It's good.
right. So
What
see, you just need to make do of what you have at the given situation.
So with your career, so you started out, you did a few different jobs, and then you sort of got sort of not pushed. You weren't pushed into doing it. It was recommended. Someone saw the qualities in you, and they recommended you to do a job. So it was a roundabout way to be a flight attendant. But if someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, actually, I've seen flight attendants. I think this is an amazing job. What would be the quickest way? How could they get there the quickest to do your job?
Ooh, that is honestly, I really don't know on that one because my story is different. My story is very different because, like I said, I didn't even get in during the first try. The best and quickest way of getting the job, of course, you read about the company, you do your research, and you know the basic stuff. You know the basic stuff. You watch videos about doing interviews and all that stuff. But other than that, I, I really, I have no answer for that one. I'm
Could you
sorry.
could you like if I've just graduated high school,
Mm.
decided university is not for me, could I go straight from high school to being a flight attendant, or do they prefer
Oh,
you have some life experience before you do it?
oh, for that one, I'm not sure on that one either. I guess depends on the company that you're applying for. But of course, for the company that I applied for, there are certain qualifications that you need to take, like 18 years old, and you need to learn how to speak English, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, not even 18. Sorry, I think it's 21. Sorry. I'm correcting myself on that. But yeah, so if you're fresh out of college without any experience and you want to see the world and you like doing this and you feel adventurous on a day-to-day basis, for sure, go for a flight attendant job. It's literally an adventure on within a year. You will go to places you've never thought you've been will ever go to. So that's what that for me that was like one of the many highlights of the job.
Yeah. And what about career progression? Like, I'm just thinking,
Mm,
you see some flight attendants. I won't say the airline name, but like in Australia, there's an airline. There's legacy agreements. There's some older flight attendants who have just been working the whole life on a plane and done nothing else. I would like to think they've done that because they enjoy it, but in
mm.
terms of career progression, is it always just the same job? You just do the same thing every day, or is there different paths you can take in terms of career?
In terms of career, I would say yes, because so for me, what I'm doing is I'm doing like a 50-50 type of situation for me. Again, this is me and my where I'm working at. I don't know if it happens in a different airline. So for me, I'm doing like a 50-50. I'm flying and then I'm also working in the office. I can't really divulge too much of what I do in the office, but then at one point I was in the communications team and then I've now moved to the safety team. So, there are avenues of, where you'd like to go because I have met some people from the office who were cabin crew and they enjoyed flying, but then also at the same time they were like, all right, this it's time to take my next journey. But they're they're staying with they're staying along the path of cabin crew because that's their background and they want to do something to help the cabin crew. So they've gone and moved to the office.
'Cause it's a really big industry, right? Like, it's not just
Mm,
you think, like you look at the scope of the role of a cabin crew, and that's what they do. But it's a really big industry, and I think just being part of it, you learn so much, and you meet so many people, and you
mm-hmm,
hear people's different stories, and you hear about different roles. Like, you
mm-hmm,
get that exposure. So I think it's like any.
mm-hmm.
It's like once you get started, like you can't see the full picture until you're in.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I said, some people moved into the office, but I know people who've gone from flight attendant to pilot. So and then I've met some. I think if I remember correctly, somebody was a ground staff and then moved to being a flight attendant. Like
Yeah,
like this person was working in the ground staff as a ground staff and then moved as a flight attendant. I know somebody who was working in the office and then has gone and moved to being a flight attendant. So there are a lot of aspects of the job, and if you see this as like a full-time job, sorry, not a full-time job, but like a career. Let's go with that. It's like a life career. Then go for it. But also at the same time, there are aspects of the job where it kind of opens doors for you, I would say. Like, oh hey, this is very interesting. What if I go to catering? I know it's very random, but like catering or engineering or something like that, still within the airline industry, I would say yes, because you've kind of built a foundation. I would say you yes, you're a flight attendant, but you since you're a flight attendant, you already have an idea of like what a day-to-day operation will look like.
yeah.
As an yeah, because you interact with engineers, people from catering, and all of that. So it's it's a big it's a big thing. It's a big operation, and if you work in an airline industry, it's not a one person job. It's a ship.
Yeah.
It's like there are other people working to get that thing off the ground. So there are a lot of avenues if somebody wants to jump and do something else along the way, or they're like, hey, for now my story is I'm a cabin crew, and then maybe your next chapter will be the manager of whatever, or you love what you're doing so much, you continue on, and then you become head of so and so country. You never know. You really never know.
Isn't I think wasn't the Virgin CEO? Didn't he start off as he was in the mail room or something of the
Something
airline,
like that, yeah.
his way up to being CEO? So there's definitely career
Hmm,
paths there if you have the ambition. I think.
for sure. I think that's what you need to have as if like I said, if your ambition is to be a cabin crew as your life career, go for it. But if you have ambitions to do something else as well, go for it. There is nothing wrong if you dipped your toes into being a cabin crew, but you also want to do something else later down the line. You go for it. That's a human factor, I would say.
My partner's in the airline industry as well, and
Mm.
he has a passion for the industry. So like we spend many hours watching air crash investigations
I
and
love that.
like Ultimate Airport Dubai, like just the operations of. I think last year there was a special where China was transporting some pandas, so we watched the panda episode as well. So I think that there is actually like it's a really fun industry, and there's so many resources just
Mm.
on YouTube where you can get a glimpse. Even
Mm.
we've been rewatching some old episodes from Australia. I think it's called Border Force, but it's like the like customs and immigration,
Border Patrol, I think.
like yeah, behind the
Yeah.
scenes. It's fascinating. There's so many different roles you can, and these shows give that sort of insight, I suppose, to the industry. So if you're interested in the industry, you can look at those.
Mm.
So other
For
than
sure.
my random YouTube watching, what other resources, tools, or habits? What would you recommend people to do?
Oh, so when I applied for this job, I actually bought a book. I'm sorry, I can't really remember the name of the book, but I actually I read up on it, and like it was like life of being a cabin crew. So I read I believe it was this woman's journey, and I think if I remember correctly, she's based off United States or something like that. So she lived a full life. She had her ups and downs, and then but at the end of the day, she was just like, I still love the job. So I read that book, and then there was this other movie that I watched. I believe it's an Indian movie about this. It's a real life event, if I'm not mistaken. And then this woman saved the entire aircraft from a hijacking.
Oh
So
wow.
it was very inspirational, and of course, it got a little bit of Hollywood in it. So of course, I don't specifically know if scene by scene actually happened, but I remember that movie because I was just like, oh wow, okay, okay. So the resources like that, you kind of have a glimpse of what's happening, of what is expected from you, and all that stuff. And of course, we are in 2025 now. You can literally have TikTok videos, YouTube videos, Facebook posts, Instagram, or whatever the kids are into these days. And you see a day in my life. You get like a 30-second glimpse of what they're doing. So, resources like that, it's good to see and like watch. I don't know if people still read, but read a book,
Read a book. Read a book.
read a book, or podcast. I'm pretty sure, I was watching, no, sorry, not watching, but I was listening to this podcast about this pilot and how he was so inspired by his father, if I remember correctly, and how he became a pilot. And I was just like, oh, okay. Very inspirational. And it really does give you like it kind of helps you form your answers when you apply for the job.
Mm. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The more you can relate to the position, the better. That's great. Before
Hmm.
we wrap up, I just want to ask. We're going to put you on the spot. I haven't given you this question, but I just wanted to ask: do you have like a horror story? Is there any like horror client or horror situation that you just like?
Ah.
I can't believe I had to deal with that. Do you have like a fun story for us?
Oh. Ooh.
If
A
not, it's like
fun.
I just.
Yeah. A fun horror story. I mean, yeah, you.
Or a situation where you're like, uh, you just can't believe you had to tell someone that.
Ooh. I'm grateful that nothing like that has ever happened to me. But you do get your special passengers now and then. But nothing to an extreme. Nothing like that. And touch wood that it has, it won't happen to me.
That's positive. That's positive. All right,
Yeah.
let's wrap up. Tell me, is there a quote or a mantra or a piece of advice that you've received during your career that changed the way you approach the job or the way you approach life?
Oh, for sure. I would like to give a big shout out to my mom because this is the words that we live by, or at least I live by, where she was just like, you guys need to try. Try. Because if you don't try, you don't know what's going to happen. You will just be there and nothing will happen to you. Nothing. If you want something to happen, you need to try, good or bad. Because I think she said something in the longs like it can be like a heartbreak or there could be a big reward at the end of it. You never know. The best thing you can do is try. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. It's advice that I live by as well. You never know until you start, and
Mm.
it's one of those things that if you don't start, you don't know where the journey is going to take you. So I
Mm.
wholeheartedly
Exactly.
agree. And I think a lot of us are too scared to try to start with. But once you start trying new things, you just got to keep the momentum, be open minded, keep trying.
Exactly. Exactly. Because
Thank you, Mom. Mom, great advice from Mom.
big shout out to mom.
Thank you very much. It's been great to hear your story.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
If you'd like more information about this podcast or our other guests, please check out coachingbynate.com for more resources and learn how coaching and mentoring can help develop your career.